everybody that I, everybody that I know, experienced that will say, I would say, it leaves an imprint. It's like a thumbprint. So sexual assault, is like somebody, a fresh canvas, and the assault is somebody just puts their thumb in black ink on you. And every time they assault you, that's what they're doing. That's what you're doing to that person, right? And so when you do that, and if I'm a canvas and I'm looking in the mirror, I see myself differently because I see the trauma, I see the pain, I see the shame. And so that's one of the things that I think is very, 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 very unique about sexual assault. The effects of it, the shame and the guilt. The abuser knows the more degrading I can be to my victim, the less likely they are going to tell anybody because of the shame. It's very shameful for someone to come out. That's why I always say, when someone, a young person or anyone says they've been assaulted or molested, I believe them. Because for a person to come out and say that, that takes a lot of strength. That takes a lot of inside work that you have to do to build up the courage for someone to come out. And that's the part of the shame, right? And the guilt that the person who is the abuser knows, right? Most abusers, matter of fact, all abusers are master manipulators. They're very charming. You won't believe that they're a offender. Because they have to be very charming, they have to be very helpful. You have to trust them in order to allow them to do what they do. So the effects of sexual assault it has to do with shame, guilt, and denial. Oftentimes when you experience something like that, you will be in denial that happened. That didn't happen to me, because no, I'm the Black goddess, and that's not happening. And I get down for mine. It's a denial there because the brain is protecting itself, right? And so if you have to relive that, you can go crazy. And so the brain is very powerful. It's very amazing. It will work out in its favor. And usually with trauma, it does different things, right? So another effect is minimizing the incident, right? So that's also a form of denial, saying, well, I did get assaulted, but he didn't penetrate me, so it wasn't that bad. It doesn't matter whether the person penetrated you or not. It was still an assault. It was still a crime, right? And sometimes your brain will do that because you want to make it seem like it's not that bad. Lack of boundaries. Usually people that have that struggled, that had been assaulted, they have problems with boundaries. I had to really learn that. And boundaries meaning, like, not saying that they're going to be promiscuous and sleep with other people. It's just friendship boundaries. Me having a relationship with a friend of mine, maybe they overstep, and I allowed them because, I was molested by a family member and they overstepped their boundaries. So a lot of these characteristics, they play out a lot in our actions and our personalities, right? Lack of trust. This is a big one for me. And me and my husband go through this a lot because, and I have an issue with trust with him, and not with sexual infidelity. It's like he could tell me something. I'm like, nope, that didn't happen. And he's like, the sky's blue. I'm like, nope. And he like, did you think before you said no? I really didn't. But it's just that I had my uncle molested me. So I don't trust. No. Family, no. Family members, sometimes I would give them the hardest time just because of trust. I didn't learn that until I started doing my work and working on myself and saying, why am I giving my grandmother, my mother, my husband a hard time? I had to do some journaling on that. And then when I did some journaling on that, that's what came out of that. Yeah, you have issues with trust because of the situation that happened. So every family member, you're going to tell them automatically no, because you don't believe them. Issues with safety. This is a big one too. Issues with isolation. I know people that want to be by themselves. They don't want to go out. That's really not a good space to be in. I think what happens is sometimes people can either be isolated or be extra social, right? So in my case, I was very, very social, right? I have to be out. I have to be around people. I love people, right? But for me, I had to be isolated to get back to me and learn what am I going through? Why did I go through this? Why did God put me through this? What happened? Right. And so for isolation, if people are really going to isolation, that's not a good place to be. You want them to socialize, you want them to go outside, you want them to mingle safely, and want them to feel safe, right? Amnesia. This happens a lot too. People will forget that the abuse happened until something happens or triggers them, right? And I've seen stories where something happened to them, someone was sexually assaulted when they were 6, and then they didn't really put it together till they were 40. And then they had to go to their mom and ask questions and say, yeah, we thought you forgot, but something triggered that thing. And the brain protected itself by giving that person amnesia. So they won't think about that story or that traumatic experience. Disassociation. This is a big one too. This is when someone is floating out of their body during the assault. I've heard this a lot. I've never experienced this, but I did hear this a lot. This is when the assault is so traumatic or something has happened where you are literally floating out of your body and you can look down and see yourself. Or you can see yourself behind your shoulder. This is a way that the brain dissociates the trauma and protects you. When your body is feeling betrayed, this is a big one. This happens a lot when you are assaulted. Your body will feel betrayed and you will, enjoy it. That happens. And I usually tell people, like, it's not your fault. Sex is meant to feel good, but the person took advantage of it. And so that normally happens. And that what really happens with that, sometimes people can go into suicide ideation or suicide thoughts because especially if the assault was forced on, if it was same sex or whatever, depending on the culture, what the person is going through, they really might have a hard time with that because their body, they felt like their body betrayed them and they shouldn't have received pleasure, right? Anger, emotional effects, right? So anger, sadness, distant, and calmness. I say that a lot of people, if you go to the male prison, a lot of them deal with anger. And there was a study that happened that with one of the prisons, and they found out that majority of them were sexually assaulted, and they were murderers, and they were criminals. So anger plays a big role with sexual assault, because if I have shame or guilt about what happened to me, I have to keep that in. I'm not going to share what happened to me. So if I don't find an outlet, that behavior is going to come out in some form of way, right? Also cognitive, right? Thoughts. Like if you experience sexual assault, mentally you might have an issue with being able to block out the assault. So a lot of replay, a lot of mind chatter, what I like to call it, will come through in your brain, and you keep reliving and keep re-traumatizing the situation, right? So long-term effects, these are usually things that can happen. I see a lot. PTSD, I tell anybody who's been sexually assaulted, a lot of times people think PTSD is just for soldiers. PTSD is for anybody who experienced a traumatic experience. If you've been in a car accident, most likely, if you have a hard time driving, you experience PTSD. So people with sexual assault is the same thing. And it usually, I would say anybody who experienced sexual assault has PTSD because the imprint, right? What they did to us, our canvas is now broken and it's reshaped our lives, right? So now we have to learn how to live healthy and how to be self-sufficient emotionally, while we are experiencing trying to figure out what really happened to us. So the long-term effects, poor health, this is something that I do struggle with, especially now with poor health. Just not feeling like, you deserve to be healthy or want to eat vegetables. A lot of times if I'm going through stuff, food definitely will show up in what I'm going through. So I studied under Queen Afua, who is an amazing person. And she talks about how food is connected to our trauma, our pain, and food is our medicine. So if she would say to us, if we ate a lot of dairy, cheese, or stuff like that, that we were trying to replicate the relationship of our mother, milk nurturing mother, right? And so food definitely for me, definitely comes out in emotion with depression. And so I would say fasting and detoxing and eating vegetables, drinking water is a big part, especially with sexual assault, just because of the imbalance that we have experienced. And with water, like I said before, water and healthy eating, that would help balance what we're going through. So I always say that, and it's funny because I just did a full screener and I learned a lot of things. So I'm going back to the old way of Queen Afua and cutting my diet, just because that is my indicator when I know something is off for me. And so again, learning your triggers and knowing when you are your best self and when you're not your best self, is very helpful, because that can help you get on track, right? So another long-term effects, a sense of helplessness, um, living in fear, depression. I experienced a lot of depression, silent depression, and anxiety bad. Before I studied with Queen Afua, I had suicide ideations. I remember my son was 2 years old. He saw me crying on a Saturday, and I didn't want to get out of bed. And he's like, "Mommy, what's wrong?" And I'm just like, "Mommy, it's just so sad." Um, and it's interesting because it's like, Venus, you wanted to get married, you have a husband, you have a beautiful son, you named him awesome, you know he's awesome. What's going on? But chemically, because of the sexual trauma and because I was really, really triggered, I had a really, really difficult time. Thank God that my husband was so compassionate and really understood that, that really understood the Black woman and what they experienced. And he was really like, you need to get the help. You need to talk to someone. He would talk to me about my sexual assault. And it's interesting now. I'm like, I must have drove him crazy. But um we would have conversations. I would tell him what happened and how this made me feel, why I did this, or I was still learning things about myself. Because in all actuality, I was just like a robot. And it wasn't really until I had my son and I had to change him that I started really feeling triggered. I felt dirty for wiping him. I felt dirty. I felt like I was imperfect. Like I didn't deserve him. I didn't deserve to, you could do the same thing to him. These were all negative thoughts that would happen. Like, you can't, you shouldn't be. It was just shameful. It was just guilt. And it was a very, very hard time for me. I wound up going to Survivors Anonymous and started, really doing some research about, Black culture and just myself, and really figuring out. And I was allowed to get angry. That was the best thing. So I was just angry, like, fuck this nigga, excuse my language, this motherfucker, and da 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 da. And I realized I was disassociating that whole experience, because when that experience happened to me, thank God, my uncle was a criminal, so he was in and out of jail, and that worked in my favor, and it kind of lessened the assault. But when he would come around, I had to disassociate. I had to be like, hey, what's up? Like, he was my favorite person in the family, So I had to disassociate. So about when I got 29 and I had my son, it was like reality hit. My brain was like, disassociation is done. Like, you have to deal with this. My son helped me heal. My son helped me heal in more ways than not. Because I was really adamant about, you know, not letting that happen to him. And so I had to really go inside and say, how can I not let this happen to him? Okay, I got to talk about this. I got to be open about what happened to me so he knows that this can happen. I have to be open about people who are predators and look out for, look like young kids. I have to talk to him about good touches. I have to talk to him about bad touches. I have to pay attention to his moods, So that opened a door for me because it was just like I had to get angry. And then I had to really look at it was almost like hate to a point which was not a good thing, but it allowed me to feel because I was disassociating and I was not feeling it. And you cannot forgive without getting angry. I don't care what nobody say. You have to be angry in order to forgive. And so I can honestly say that I have forgave him. He's gone now. And I am glad that everything did really work out because I don't have any animosity. I don't really feel any type of way. I think for me personally, I'm just learning how to deal with the effects of it, if it makes sense. So how can I be healthy? How can I continue to make healthy decisions? And how can I not be depressed? How can I not live in poor health? How can I, not have a panic attack? How can I not have difficulty in my relationship? So that's where I am now. And I think how you rebuild yourself, how you heal yourself. Number one, I always tell people to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. A lot of times we don't even know that we have so much animosity towards ourselves because of the situation until we say to ourselves, it is not your fault. I'm going to tell you the most powerful thing that happened to me. I was in a meeting one day and we had to read, it was not your fault. You was unprotected. Somebody left you unprotected. It is not your fault. The weight that was lifted off of my shoulders, I didn't even know I was carrying that thing until I left the meeting. And so I always tell people who was assaulted sexually or molested, go in the mirror and say, it's not my fault. I don't care if you don't believe it, because this is how powerful affirmations are. Affirmations are so powerful that even if you don't believe what you're saying, your brain will believe it. So forgiving yourself is big, is really big, because you can subconsciously blame yourself for little things that you had no clue that you were holding on to. And so constantly telling yourself, it is not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't wear anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just being me. Somebody took advantage of me sexually. That is powerful. That's powerful. I remember writing that 100 times like I was in 8th grade. It was not my fault. It was not my fault. It was not my fault. I was triggered though. My uncle called me. This is like years ago. He called me for something, and one of my friends, or family friends, was like, "Why you don't talk to your uncle?" And I was like, "Fuck him!" And I just went off, right? Because I wasn't really healed there, and I was like emotionally angry, right? And so I remember writing, I felt so dirty. I had to go in the shower because I talked on the phone to him. I went in the shower, scrubbed my body like 5 times. And I came out, took a pen and a paper, and I wrote, it is not my fault. It was not my fault. It is not my fault. It is not my fault. sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you're gonna have to put that work in. And so just forgiving yourself. Two, I would say learn your triggers. You have to learn your triggers. You have to learn what will trigger you. A trigger can be a sound, a smell, a taste, a touch, anything that your brain associates with the abuse. Now, there's some silent triggers. Like I have silent triggers. I don't even know what they are, right? But I'm pretty sure my body does. So when something happens, I can react, and I react in a way that because I was triggered, right? But the more you continue this work, the more you continue to do self-care with yourself, you will recognize your triggers. For me, personally, I do not like when men lick their lips and look at me like a steak. I feel like as a gentleman, you need to be smooth and God give you words to use. But that's triggering because that's what my uncle used to do to me. And in my head, I associate that as being disgusting AF, as the young people say. So if you do that to me, even when I was dating, if he did that to me, you was not getting any play from Venus because Venus was triggered by that. Where there are some girls that will, oh my God, girl, he looking at me like he like I'm a steak. I love that. Some girls do. Because I was exposed to that, I don't like that. So that's a trigger that I know, and so I try to avoid that. So for me, when I'm looking at a mate, I'm looking at someone who can control themselves sexually, because if you can't, then it's a trigger to me, So, and that's something that I had to learn. Self-care, I would say, I want to say counseling and therapy. Always go to counseling therapy, especially if you have suicide ideation or thoughts, or feeling like you want to commit suicide. Please talk to someone. Talk to someone. Suicide is very high with sexual assault because of the shame. And so I always tell people, it is common to have suicidal ideation. Ideation is when you think about, I experienced that, when you want to you're thinking about committing suicide, or you're thinking of ways, but you're not going to go through it, right? So you're just thinking like, maybe I should, eliminate myself. My kids would be better off without me. They will get the insurance, talks like that. So self-care is very important. And the reason why I say self-care is very important, I know it's cliche. Everybody say self-care, but I'm so happy that the Black community is talking about self-care, because we have been operating on robot mode, especially Black women, forgetting ourselves, and not really taking the time to really care for us. And this is why some of the things that have happened within the community, in my opinion, is happening because you have to care for yourself first. So self-care is very important because the person that assaulted us tried to rob us from that, right? So self-care. Self-care should be the top of everything. Even if you got to do like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, get up, pray, do something, massage yourself. Also creating boundaries. Now, this is important, creating boundaries and becoming disciplined. Discipline is really, really, really hard at times, because people who have been sexually assaulted experience the person that assaulted them, their lack of discipline, right? We always had to cover up. We always had to lie. So if we were sexually assaulted, somebody said, "What did you do today?" Oh, nothing. I was outside. I went to the park. You're gonna lie. So you're accustomed of lying. You're accustomed of not being disciplined, because of the experience that you experienced. So creating boundaries with your friends, making sure that people treat you with respect. Making sure that you treat yourself with respect, because a lot of times our friends, our families, will treat us how we treat ourselves. So if we treat ourselves like crap, then they're going to run all over us, because you don't have an expectation for people to treat you with respect. So that happens a lot with sexual assault. Sometimes it happens subconsciously. Also, it happens because we want friends. We want to be liked. The attention that we used to get. If you had somebody who was giving you a lot of attention, and that happened in my case, a lot of attention, like male attention, you're gonna want you're seeking that out. I remember being in high school, and my mother used to be like, "Girl, you are boy crazy." I was boy crazy, boy crazy. Oh my God, he's light skinned. Oh my God, he has green eyes. Oh my God, he has a bald head. And oh my God, this and that. But uh that was an effect of my abuser giving me a lot of attention, showing me a lot of attention, telling me I was beautiful, telling me this. So now I'm in high school and now I'm like, oh my God, I need to hear this and I need to hear it. And what does that do to your self-esteem? It can kill it, because now I need you to tell me how fly I am. I need you to tell me how beautiful I am, because I don't believe it. And all my beauty or my beliefs come from someone else and not myself. So that tends to happen a lot. Again, as you go through the work, you experience that. And so you see that, and now now usually I remove myself from that. And I say, oh, Vince, you doing that because somebody just gave you that little attention, you know? But it's funny because I really know that. And I'm like, oh man, girl, you growing, go girl. Like, and that's key. Seeing your growth. That's the most rewarding thing, I think, for me, is seeing the growth of myself. Recognizing that certain things, now it doesn't bother me. Time heals things. I'm gonna say that again. Time heals things. Time heals things. And karma, I would say, always prevails. Always. So developing coping skills and grounding techniques, I would say, is very important. Like I said, for those triggers, affirmations, it was not my fault. You say that, I'm beautiful. If you're dealing with not disassociation, that's something with a body, when you look at yourself in the mirror, and dysmorphia, that happens a lot. Body dysmorphia happens a lot with sexual assault as well. Sometimes you might see yourself differently than what you really are. So you look in the mirror, you may be like, oh my God, my gut is big. Oh my God, my thighs are huge. And all actuality, it is not really that huge, but the way you see yourself is different, right? So what I want to say is, like, self-massage and massages is very key. Why am I saying that? Along with affirmation, self-massage is a way for you to get to know your body and to show appreciation for it. Womb work is amazing. Queen Afua talks about that. You talking to your womb, if you're a female who have been sexually assaulted, and just saying you love yourself and you love your womb, that is powerful by itself as well. So you can Google that, womb work. I've done some stuff with that. It's very powerful. I've also worked with yoni eggs. I love crystals, so I worked with yoni eggs. And actually, yoni eggs was my first introduction to healing from sexual trauma, because at the time, I was really, really struggling, and I was really trying to just feel beautiful and sexy. And so yoni eggs was a way. Yoni eggs is a crystal, is a ball. You do put it in your yoni, your sacred space. And it's good for womb health. It also, the crystal, if you use a rose quartz, this is not a yoni egg, but this is a rose quartz. If you use this generates love, self-love. And so rose quartz yoni egg, you can use that, and that would definitely help you feel love. You don't have to keep it in long. You can pray with it, you can meditate with it. But that is a great way for you to get connected to your womb, because that's another thing that happens. Sometimes when we are sexually assaulted, we are disassociated from our body parts. And so, to be whole, you have to definitely, be one with your body. And that happens a lot with sexual assault, right? So meditation and prayer, building a relationship, a spiritual relationship, altar work, crystal work, church, grounding, any type of thing that's going to feed your spirit, that is very important. That is what's going to keep you really, really grounded and just take some time, just take some time for yourself to really get to know who you are. So when I do that work, I'm not thinking about church. I'm not thinking about religious sectors. I'm thinking about myself. And I'm thinking about, what do I need inside? What's my body trying to tell me? And I just sit still, and I might say a little prayer, and I sit still. My grandmother used to call that tarrying, like you pray and tarry is like you're waiting for the Lord to say something to you. So what I usually do, I just sit there and I try to download what is for me. The best time to do that is 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. When I can't sleep, I try to download what's for me. Sometimes sleep is for me. Sometimes I need to stretch. Sometimes I'm getting insight on how to be a better parent. Sometimes I might went through something traumatic, revision something traumatic that happened to me, and I got the lesson out of that. God would show me sometimes like why you went through that, or how you can be better, or what would happen if you don't listen. So a lot of times I use that time just to download, and I do honor my ancestors, just because it makes me feel whole. It makes me feel like they're still here with me. Um, and it helps me to continue the legacy that, the purpose that God had gave to them, and now is passed on to me, and I have to pass down to my son. And it's also a great way for my son to know who he comes from, who he is, who's his stock, why is he so strong? Or if he's going through challenges, he could be like, you know what, Graham had sickle cell anemia, but she still did this and she still do that. So it's a great way for me to really learn lessons and be connected to myself, because I'm a I love my family. I'm a very family oriented person. And so that is a great way for me to keep focused on my purpose and my mission. I'm just gonna take some water. Anybody have any questions or anything before we get ready for the breathing activity?
Let's see. Got a lot of someone says salute and got a couple of people waving and um yeah, just keep going. Just
Okay.
it's the resonating with people because like I probably told you, I believe that stories heal.
Yes.
And you sharing your story is letting people know that they are not alone.
Alone. Yes. Yes, absolutely. You are not alone. And definitely if someone here has experienced that, you are not alone. You can still heal. I would encourage you to find someone to speak to, and just really start the healing process. It is a lot of work, but it is definitely rewarding. So I do challenge you to join me on this healing journey. So I'll go into my story, and then after my story, I'm definitely gonna need some sound therapy. And put some love crystals around. So my story is, like I said, I'm an incest survivor. Um and I was molested by my uncle, my mother's brother. Um, and my mom had sickle cell anemia. So when I came home from the hospital, I had to go home. She stayed in the hospital because she was sick. I was born in Jacoby, so shout out to Jacoby. They almost killed us like 4 times in there, but shout out to Jacoby. So I came home. My uncle was my caretaker. My grandmother had to work, and she had to take care of my mom because my mom was in the hospital, always sick, like really sick. So my uncle was my caretaker. So that was um the the assault that he used to do to me. That was our thing because I was groomed very well. And groom is a term that is used, that's usually when people buy you stuff or they groom you towards sexual assault. So they make it more easier, right? So my uncle groomed me very well. Um, I never told anybody what happened to me. Um, like I said, he would pick me up from school and he would do his little thing, and he would reward me with the park. So the thing that's really was for me, it was really inappropriate when I got older, was he used to tongue kiss me and he used to give me oral sex. Um, and so I liked kissing, right? Because this is a grown man that used to kiss me. So the whole my body betrayed me, that happened a lot. Um, I did have a lot of body betrayals. And because I was so young, I would say like 3, 4, 5, 6, until I was 12. I didn't really understand like what was happening and what was going on. So when the assault was stopped, um, I would hump pillows. Like I was very, like I was stimulated. I was sexually stimulated. The reason why I'm telling this story, because this happens a lot, and a lot of people will have suicide ideations because of the trauma that happened to them. And I just want to tell people, like, you're not alone. You are not alone. Most times the body will betray you because God put sex here for it to feel good. And so that's pretty much what happened. He was in and out of jail. So luckily, because he was a criminal, the assault will pace out. He would look at me like I was his girlfriend. I really believe he was in love with me to this day. Like he passed, but I really believe like he loved me, like a unhealthy relationship. So I told my grandmother in 8th grade that something happened. Um, and we didn't tell my mom because my mom has sickle cell anemia. And because she has sickle cell anemia, what would happen, like if people would die or something traumatic would happen, it would send her body in shock and she would go to the hospital. So we had like someone died. We wouldn't tell her till later, till she came up on, because her crisis was so bad, like depending on the news, it would make her sick. So we didn't tell her. She didn't find out till I was grown. Skip until I'm gonna say I'm in high school. I don't see him. I see him sometime, but I'm disassociating myself. And again, like I said, he's in the streets, so I'm not really seeing him that much. When I started doing my healing work, my son was 2, and I was grown then. So I was married and I had a child. I was 29, 31 by the time I started doing my healing work on my sexual journey. I saw him and I looked at him like I wanted to kill him. So I didn't speak to him during this time. My grandmother dies, I think 2018, 2019. Forgive me, because grief messes with me with the year. My grandmother dies. Before my grandmother dies, 2 weeks before she dies, the spirit spoke to me. And I had already been doing healing work with Queen Afua. Prior to that, I had wrote him a letter, didn't give it to him, but wrote him a letter. And this is how I knew I was like healing. And this is how I knew I was different. And God really put some mercy in me or something. I don't know. I wrote him a letter thanking him for the abuse and thanking him for what he did to me, because it made me a better person. I wrote him a letter just saying thank you for this, because now I'm helping other women. Thank you for making me love myself even more because of the traumatic experience that you put me through. So when I wrote that letter, I ripped it up and I burnt it and I threw it in the toilet. Um, After that, 2 years later, my grandmother has cancer. She gets sick. And I just feel like this is probably going to be her last 2 weeks. So what I need to do is be a good granddaughter and get all her children together, or at least let them say goodbye, because it's not about me, it's about her and her children. And at this point, my grandmother was not messing with my uncle at this point. Like, she cut him off. So I remember I called him. He always knew my voice. He's like, "What's up?" I said, "You need to get to the hospital." So we talked like for 2 minutes. And Spirit told me that day, don't go to the hospital. I didn't go to the hospital. He came to the hospital. This was another layer of the healing where I realized, like, it's not about me. And I think this is where his karma took a turn as well. My grandmother thanked me and said, "Thank you. You called," she said, "You called him?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because then it's not about me, it's about you and your relationship with your kids." And she said to me, I'm sorry, it's an ambulance. She said to me, she said, "Thank you." And when she said that thank you, I could tell that it was like a burden that was lifted off of us, because we haven't talked about it, we haven't discussed it or anything like that as a family. And she was avoiding him because of me. But at the same time, like, I just knew, like, it wasn't about me at that point. Like, he hurt me, but that's his mother at the end of the day. And so my grandmother passed 2 weeks later. He comes to the funeral. My mother's not messing with him at all. And so fast forward, my mom passes 4 years. 4 years after my grandmother. It's 2 years now. Like I said, I'm not really good with dates, but my uncle, and this is how forgiveness is, I swear. My uncle, when I was really feeling depressed and I was really feeling bad, he was the one that really talked to me and uplifted me and was like, your mother wouldn't have left you. We're all we have. I was there to say, I forgive you. But I have to create boundaries for myself, stuff like that. So you can't come to my house, but if we out and you're on the corner, we're talking, we can have a conversation. We can meet in a public place. You know, so it was stuff like that. And then, I'm glad everything happens for a reason. Like I said, he passed unexpectedly, and I mourned for him. And I felt so bad. For one day, I really did. That day that I found out, I mourned for him. And then the next day, the Spirit placed in my heart a place where I can not mourn, but just accept. My grandma used to have this thing. She used to say, "You live by the sword, you die by the sword." And so, he kind of made his bed. And so I'm at peace with that. And I'm kind of glad that, it, not to say that he's passed, but when I forgive someone, I really forgive them. And my uncle is kind of a manipulator. So, I don't have to worry about that, so I'm like at peace, really at peace, knowing that I was able to forgive. And I can't explain to you how or why. I could just tell you that God really placed on my heart just through my studying of just looking at my family lineage, learning that, my uncle lived on a plantation in Mississippi, and he was sexually assaulted every day where he was doing sexual acts. So these things, like, God just revealed to me certain things. And it's really important that we have these conversations, because in our community, we don't want to have these difficult conversations because we are shameful or we don't want to expose a loved one. But we have to learn how to expose someone, and protect the victim and help the person that needs help, because that's a sickness. For you to sexually assault a minor, for you to be attracted to a minor, that's pedophilia, and that was another thing that I learned, that pedophilia and child molesters, can be, so you can be a pedophile but not be a child molester. If you are a pedophile, it's close for you to get healing. Meaning a pedophile is a person that might look at pornography or likes young girls or likes young boys. So they don't necessarily have to act on it. They could just have visions or desires, right? The pedophile becomes a child molester once he acts on it. So there are studies, and I'm saying this because in our community, we need to know about this. There are studies and there are programs that would help people who are struggling with this type of mental health condition. So if you are struggling with pedophilia or being attracted to young people, there are spaces, there are places that can help you, that can really heal you and help you get over that. So any other questions or thoughts? Because now I'm really going to get into my breath activity.
Well,
Any,
we've got some new people who've you know, I see them joining. You
oh,
just want to just briefly reintroduce yourself, say who you are and you know why we're doing this.
okay, absolutely. So again, thank you guys for coming in. You are time, so you are not late. My name is Venus Moore, and I am a person who is passionate about healing, especially when it comes to sexual trauma. I am an incest survivor. So God has given me the gift of really using my pain to help other people, and creating a safe space for people who have been sexually assaulted or molested, and they just need that advice or to talk. Um, let me see, what else can I say? Um, Sexual assault, like I said before, I'm glad that, the Bronx Holistic Healing is doing this because this is a conversation that needs to be had. Um, and I think more stories like this need to be shared because people need to know that they are not alone. Oftentimes, when you experience assault, or molestation or incest for that matter, there's a lot of shame that comes with it. There's a lot of guilt that comes with it. There's a lot of disassociation. And so when you are experiencing something traumatic like that, um, you can definitely get in a sense of hopelessness and, self-doubt, self-worth. You don't feel worthy. You may feel dirty. You may become depressed. And you might have suicide thoughts or suicide ideation. And so I would say again, if someone is really struggling with suicide ideation, to definitely get help, talk to somebody, definitely reach out to a therapist. You can reach out to RAIN anytime. They have a chat box and you can just let them know. They'll actually you feel safe. And they can actually help you with like treatment and stuff like that. Also, I do want to say, because now my job is kicking in, substance abuse and substance misuse and gambling. Um, People who have been sexually assaulted definitely self-medicate and they definitely can have a higher level of addictions. Now, I'm going to say addictions. Usually substances are the first one, drugs and alcohol, as we used to say. Now they used to say substances, because we are self-medicated. So that is something that you would see a lot if someone is had experienced sexual assault or molestation. They usually have an oral fixation, have to have things in their mouth. So drinking, smoking cigarettes, marijuana, drugs, alcohol, those can definitely be um, a stumbling block for people who experience sexual assault. Anything else?
No, couple of likes, just I
Okay.
mean, I feel it's such an intense
Yes.
subject that people are more, I feel people are just listening, and I
Right.
hope that there are people, watching who may have had this experience that they just feel encouraged,
Right.
encouraged by looking at the screen and hearing you speak and seeing how you've thrived, through this experience, and just knowing that you, I won't say overcame, but that you're doing well.
Yeah. Oh, amen. Ashe, all of that to you. I mean, and that's, one thing I do want to say is like, don't give up. A lot of times, you will feel stagnant, you're gonna feel stuck. But keep doing whatever you can, like a little drink water, eat a salad, just the little things matters. Taking yourself away from loud spaces, connecting with the family, maybe even selecting your chosen family, a family of people that you can trust and you feel comfortable with. Um, those things definitely help. And speaking to someone, I think talking about it is the best help. If you could find like-minded people that experience what you experience and you could just share. I have a tribe of those people. I could just call and say, yo, girl, I'm having a bad day. And they know exactly. I ain't had to say my sexual assault got me going on a fleek, and I ain't gotta say nothing. They could say, "Oh, you okay? Did you drink water? Did you eat a salad today?" Because that's another thing too. Um, People who have experienced sexual assault, I could go days without eating. It doesn't bother me. So these are things like we lack of self-care because we were robbed of our innocence. And that's the other thing too, adding that to your affirmation, saying, I am innocent, that's powerful too. I'm innocent. I was innocent. I didn't deserve this. I can't explain to you. We used to say in our group, snot heals. If you not crying and the snot not coming out, you ain't gonna feel better. I'm telling you, if you crying cute, it ain't gonna help. You gotta have the snot coming down. And I tell you, you will get up and woo. All right, what we gotta do? We gotta go to work. We gotta go to the doctor, take the kids to the doctor. What we gotta get it? What we gotta do? Because crying definitely does help. And that was another thing for me. I didn't really cry until I started studying under Queen Afua because I disassociated. So I was numb. I used to have people used to say like, "Oh, you're so nonchalant." Like nothing, it would seem like nothing would phase me, but inside it would. So when I started doing the healing work, eating right, doing my kidney liver cleanse, which I got to get back to, doing yoga poses, doing my fire breaths, which I just started back this week, doing fire breaths. I started crying more. And I didn't care. I'll be on 125th Street one time. I was crying. My grandmother was telling me something, and I was crying. The man was looking at me, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I have to get this out because when you care about, when you put yourself first, you don't care. You got to get that out. And when your mission is to heal yourself, you will pass your children, you will pass your spouse to heal if you're craving to heal. And more importantly, you don't want anybody to get in the way with that. That's your peace. When you stop healing or wanting to heal or have the desire to heal, that's an indicator that something is wrong. So I would say continue to heal, even if it feels like you're hitting the wall. You keep hitting that wall is going to break. So I definitely want to. Oh, go ahead.
So, was there ever any acknowledgement of what happened?
On whose part? On his part?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess. I did text when I was first going through like years ago, probably like 19 or 20. I did text my uncle and asked him, ask did you ask God to forgive you for what you did to me when I was young? And he did text back, yes. And then he made a little comment like a month, no, a year that I don't even want to repeat because it was really messed up. And so I had to learn that, and this is something that when you go through in healing, you can't, some people are so messed up, they're not going to acknowledge it. Like it's not, it's not gonna happen. Some people are so stuck in their ways. Some people are so, they don't see anything wrong with it, or they might feel like they helped you out, you know, whatever. So I think for me, it got to the place where his life got so messed up that I couldn't craft, like, I was like, God did that. I couldn't have craft a better, you know, and that's why sometimes time and karma, sometimes you gotta allow, you gotta step back. Because what was happening to his life and within the last 5 years, it was like everything he touched crumbled. Everything,
Mm,
everything. And it
mm,
was interesting because at one point I was like, damn, I feel sorry for him. Then I was like, no, you don't. Like, you know, but that's how I knew I was healing, because I was like, God, that's rough. You know, like he didn't have a place of his own. He had to like stay with a girlfriend, and then the girlfriend was toxic. So it was just layers of layers of layers of stuff that happened to him, you know, at the end, that God is the best designer, to be honest with you. So, you know, I took solace in that.
okay. Thank you for that.
No problem.
And I want to say I appreciate how you have like the balance of for lack of a better phrase, the spirituality and the street, and being able to be on the path, but then also be rooted in the reality of what's happening. So don't to apologize for like the language, because that's real. That's authentic.
Yes, thank you. So I have my singing bowls. I do want to definitely do some sound healing. I do this sometimes with my reflexology patients, clients, not patients, I'm sorry. Um, and this is really like I said, this is for the soul, self-care. Um, it has nothing to do with religious, it's more about vibration. So I have a quartz one here, a small one. Um, so what I want you guys to do is like really just relax. If you want to take your shoes off so you can feel the ground on the floor, try to make sure that your posture is open. So no cross legs, no fists, you know, you just want to be open to receive. Um, this definitely, sound healing definitely helps me out so much. I found this out by taking my spiritual baths. That's another thing I want to say. Please take baths if you experience any sexual trauma. Please take baths. I can't tell you how healing that is. And so when I go in the bath, sometimes I hum and I'll bring, you know, that vibration to my womb. And it just makes me feel so much better. Water is healing. It's also programmable. So if you want to pray over your water, you talk to your water, you put positive energy in your water, it will definitely help you. And the baths, reason why you take baths, because the skin is the largest organ. And sometimes we neglect it. Just the shower is not good enough. Sometimes we need to soak. That sweat, it releases the toxins. And it also just makes you feel so much better, just relaxing wise. And that's a great self-care tip. So I'm using a quartz. Quartz, you guys know quartz is the master healer crystal. It's one of my favorites. And so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start off with 5 breaths. I'm gonna hit my sound bowl, and you're gonna take one deep breath in and blow it out. Another breath in and blow it out. One more time. Blow it out. The deep breath and blow it out. I want you to wiggle your toes. Take another deep breath in. Blow it out. Now I want you to sit with yourself. And I want you to tell yourself, self, I love you. I appreciate you. I adore you. And take another deep breath in. Blow it out. Now roll your shoulders. A lot of the tension, trauma, pain, affliction happens in our shoulders. We're going to release that. Roll your shoulders. Take a deep breath in. Blow it out. And take another deep breath in. And we're going to blow it out. And I want you to sit still and just calmly breathe in and out as you hear the vibrations. All right, come back to center. You can't hear? You muted.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. I
You
didn't
didn't?
hear it. No.
You can't hear it?
Wait, try it again. I turned my volume all the way up.
You mean I was doing all that work?
Yeah.
And I could not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Uh-huh.
I got my balls out. I'm like, you can't hear it?
No,
No.
I got into a meditation anyway, so
Okay.
but I didn't hear it.
Yeah. But definitely, breath work is something that I do, that I use. I think it's very important, especially when you're angry, because like I said, it makes you calm and it makes you more rational. So I want to thank you guys for I see the time is 8:49. I thank you guys for your patience. Um and this has been very exciting. I appreciate doing this work and I appreciate if anybody wants to reach out to me, please hit me up on Facebook, on the gram. We definitely can be friends.
Okay, so I just have a question. So I guess I'm trying to ask a question maybe people are thinking of. Um, like how a person gets rid of the anger and the shame. What do you say to that?
So I think the anger and the shame, it will, I'm not gonna say get rid of. I think it becomes more tolerable and it loosens. Um, the anger definitely will drop the more you work on yourself, the more you try to understand what happened to you, the more you accept what happened to you. And that's a thing too, a lot of times we don't want to accept what happened to us because we're in denial. um, that will tend to fade. For me, like, it took me about, my son was 2, he's 12. It took me about 10 years to really release that anger, because for me, I didn't get angry until I was grown. Um, but I would definitely say anger is definitely an emotion that is needed to heal. I don't think God would make, the creator or God would make anger and be like, oh, it's all bad. Sometimes anger can be good because it definitely can make a change. The anger within me against my uncle, I birthed this, this book, or just started talking and sharing with people. So sometimes anger can be good. I think when we don't know how to control our anger, or we don't have positive outlets to control our anger, that's when it becomes a problem. But over time, you should become less angry if you're really doing, if you're doing the work.
And what about um okay, so you had a supportive family, but
Yes.
what if a person's family is not supportive, and when they tell someone what happened, they don't believe them, or they say, no, you're making it up, or it's not true. Like, they'll defend the
Right.
perpetrator. So what words would you have for them?
So that definitely happens a lot, especially within our community. I always tell people to keep telling someone until someone believes you. It can be shameful and re-traumatizing, but if you're at home and you tell someone that this is happening and they don't believe you because, oh, that's my boyfriend, and he would never do that and he's paying the bills, and when you go to school, you let somebody at school know. You find a trusted adult um, or someone that you can trust. Rain also, you can chat with them on a computer. You can literally Google them, and you can reach out for help through them. So I would say, tell somebody until they listen. It does re-traumatize you. It definitely does, because you're basically coming out the closet every time. But find a trusted adult.
Okay, thank you for that. I remember this meme that I saw. Oh, okay. Let me just read. Someone has a in the chat. What was that? Oh, yeah, I'm trying. The chat has kind of changed. Where's the chat? Oh, okay. Um, Hi, this has really been helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um, So yeah, there was this post that I saw, this meme or whatever, and it said, like, I know you mentioned before, like, religious. This meme said, how come the discerning spirits in the church can tell when a girl is fast, but not when she's being molested? And that I just always,
So,
how come, yeah,
yeah.
the discerning spirits of the church can always tell when a girl is being fast, but not when she's being molested.
So
Like,
yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the language. Like, I think as Black people, we need to stop calling our young people fast, because where they learn that shit from. And I'm just being honest. Somebody had to teach them that behavior. And when we say they're fast, we don't look at where with their environment. And when I say their environment, who's teaching them? Who's allowing them to act like that? Sometimes what will happen is, and that's really what happens is, a girl is groomed. And remember, sexual acts are for adults. So when a young person is groomed very young, they don't know what to do with those emotions and those feelings. So you might see someone a young person jumping on men's lap and or always in men's face, right? And so they'll be like, oh my God, look at that girl. Look at Venus. Why her fast ass tail's always in, right? I used to hear that. But it's like, well, where did she learn that from? You know, and so I think we as a community have to change the language and not say, you know, that girl is fast, and say that girl is hurt. Something's going on.
And
Um,
and it's always the girls too. I
right.
didn't say, you
And
know,
there's men, there's boys that get molested. Boys get molested just as much as females. And there's a lot of female abusers out here as well. So a lot of times when we have these conversations, this is why I talk to my son so much. Um, we have these conversations, we usually just say, we keep it gender specific and say, oh, the girls and the boys that act feminine, right? You know, so let's be honest. We would say, oh, those are the ones that are getting sexually assaulted, when it's young people in general. Somebody has to prey on you. So that's what it is. Like, again, for someone to get sexually assaulted, they have to be unprotected. And as parents, we cannot protect our kids 24/7. So if you're a parent on here and your child has went through that, I want to say to you, it's not your fault. Sometimes we can't protect our kids. You know, people who these abusers are mass manipulators. They're mass manipulators. They know how to groom people to make people feel trusted. You know, I saw a story where there was this guy who was a football coach, and a football coach. He used to go to the sons, the boys, whoever wanted to play his house, right? The mother heard some sounds in the room. The coach was molesting her son in the house. Now, the sickness with that is so, like, you could go on so many, the risks, the audacity. The mother wound up stabbing him. She lost her mind. She saw it. She stabbed him. She's my hero. Okay. Like, if I know where she is, I would send her a care package. Okay. Because she wound up losing it, which anybody would. You understand what I'm saying? But the audacity for this trusted adult. Now, people might say, oh, that's her fault. That ain't her fault at all. That is not her fault. You can, and that's what we do sometimes. Well, the door should have been open. It's his coach. I'm not thinking nothing of it. You know, like, he is an authority figure that's over my son that is trusted. So I think, you know, these are the conversations that we have to have. Definitely changing our language. I stopped saying that girls was fast, because it's like that behavior doesn't come out the sky. You know, when and I would tell people who are listening, if you have young people who are doing that, you definitely, that's an eye opener. That's an eye. If they are young and they are sexually stimulated, that is a red flag that something happened. Either they saw something or something happened to them. That does not happen by accident. So
um, yeah, thank you for sharing that, because definitely, like, it's always the girls that are fast.
yeah,
And you know, it, when they see that the other people are protected and they're left unprotected, it's like a recipe for more trauma.
right. Right. And then they're re-traumatized. So especially like in a church setting, I can't even imagine, because if, especially if they're a authority figure, right? They're a leader, they're an elder. Um, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna trust them, you know, like somebody come, and that is a perfect, like, if you are a predator, that's a perfect place for you to go, because there's always young people. Um, you're in a religious sector, so you're protected, you know, because you can't be doing any harm. And so for the young person that has to go through that, that's just re-traumatizing for them, you know. And like I said before, depending on the act, if I might not say anything because I'm shameful, right? So the more egregious the sexual act, the more shame it is for me as a 9-year-old to say this person did. I don't want to say that as a 9-year-old, what might happen. So, that's the consequences. Well, that's honestly, that's a perk that a sexual abuser have in favor over the victim.
Mm, very unfortunate. Very
Yeah.
unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So, what I wanted to ask was, when you, I guess, what sparked you to really go on the path of healing and doing this, and doing this work, and how did it impact you as you were doing the work?
My son really, really inspired me because I didn't want what happened to me to him. I think like when you become a parent, things change. Like, you're not as selfish, your paycheck is not just yours. It goes it goes to your kid. And so that, just like I said, you know, wiping him, that was a trigger. And then me just really saying, I don't want him to experience that, what I went through. I don't want him to experience self hate or self harm or, feel like he needs to drink to numb. I started looking at myself as a mom and putting my experience as him through him and really feeling like I don't want this to happen to him. And so I really was praying and really like searching like how can I break the cycle? How can this never come into my generations ever? Like his kids. Like how can we do this? And one of the ways is just talking about it. Like just getting over the guilt and the shame. Me, that was, I can't explain that. Like honestly, that was God, I'll tell you, because I have a lot of friends who experienced the same thing that I did and they will not share. But for me personally, I just think it was a part of my purpose. It was something that I felt like I had to do. If I don't do it, I feel like I'm gonna die. Like it's just weird, like if I don't speak about it, if I don't help people who are going through this. I have grown men come to me and tell me like that's how I knew it was a really a gift. When I had this thug guy come to me and say, the same thing happened to me. This guy pulled me to the side and did this to me. And it left me questioning my sexuality. Now, this guy,
Mm,
if I showed you a picture of him, you would be like, hell no, that ain't happened to him. But it just showed how frequently this is happening within our community and nobody is talking about it. You got the victims like, shh, don't say nothing because that was embarrassing, you know?
mhm, mhm.
And so I feel very blessed and very fortunate, and that's why I just feel comfortable because I don't want it to happen to my son. So I would tell everybody, yes, that happened to me. So I'm an advocate. I speak out about stuff like that, and people really come to me, and I thank God because you know it shows that it didn't happen in vain. Like it is helping some people.
So, okay, so you encountered this man who said this happened.
Mhm.
What are some things you've seen in other people who haven't addressed the abuse? Like, what are some of the behaviors?
So one thing I do see criminal activities a lot with men who don't address it, anger, and also I would say really having difficulty within relationships with intimacy, just because our intimacy, sexual assault and physical abuse, people don't know this, but that's intimacy. It's not a positive way of intimacy, but it is a form of intimacy because someone is coming to your space and being intimate with you. You understand? So sometimes that shows up with relationships. I remember there was this guy, he was it was a famous guy. I can't think of the actor, but he would say like after he came home from work, he would drive 2 hours after, before he got home. And his wife would be like, oh my God, he's cheating and stuff like that. And it was because he was sexually assaulted by a woman and he had to really mentally prepare himself to get in the house. And it wasn't until he told his wife what happened to him that he began to heal. And so I always tell people who are married, tell your spouse. Because a lot of times I come encounter with people and they be like, oh, I'm not telling them nothing. I'm like, they know something is off, because if you really in love with somebody, you can tell when they're off. You can tell. And so instead of having this iceberg in the middle of our relationship because I'm shameful of not telling you what happened to me 20 years ago, I'm taking it out on you and you're thinking it's something else. You're thinking I'm cheating, or you think you're not I'm not attracted to you, or you thinking that, whatever, because you leaving that space because you're not telling your spouse what really happened. And I think for me, I'm very, very fortunate. I probably talk my husband ear off, but I would say this, I think he works in schools. He's a contractor. He does evidence-based programming, teaches, he does parenting classes and stuff like that, and drug prevention and intervention for high school students and middle school students. It makes him, it helps him in his work because now he can understand, a lot of young people that go to drugs and alcohol are sexually assaulted because they are self-medicated. So, I think I'm just very fortunate to have family and friends that are, very supportive and really, really, understand and accept me for who I am.
Wow. And I know you mentioned that his mother was very upset with him. Okay, because so it definitely seems like that solidarity was really great because sometimes
Oh, you talking about my grandmother?
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
no, she didn't. Oh, man, my grandma didn't play. She she told me she wanted, when we was grown and we were drinking Henny, she was like, I wanted to shoot that nigga, but and that's all such talking about. But yeah, she did that for me. And you know what, AB, I thank you for saying that because that was the one thing that I was like, oh, she's not playing. Like, it was she did not talk to him for years.
Mm,
For years.
mm,
Just because she did not want me to feel uncomfortable.
wow, wow. Wow. Yeah, that's really great that you had the fortune of having them with you and then it didn't just become like
Right,
a divided thing because it you could have situations where it's like the victim's story is just diminished and then
right.
when it comes to like family events it's like, oh, go over there and
Yeah,
hug and go over there and interact and like
no,
yeah.
she did not. And it's funny you say that because one time we went out and he dropped by, and he's like, yeah, let's come out. And I remember my grandmother came, she was so nervous. She was like, where did you go? I was like, we just went to the store. And she was like, no, I don't want you. I was like, man, I'm grown. Like, that was like nothing happened. But she, like that was her way of like protecting me. So she did. She really did.
Wonderful, wonderful. Um, okay. Think I think that's um kind of scrolling here, kind of scrolling. I think it's more that people are just kind of watching and just not
Yeah.
commenting. And then what happens is that people will watch the replay
Yes.
and that's and there'll be
Yes.
like a
Right.
lot more comments. But
And
that's why
this
I kind of
topic is difficult. So, a
yeah,
lot of times
yeah.
you're just gonna sit there and
Hmm.
receive what you need to receive. So I get it. No, no understand.
Hmm.
If anybody has any questions, you can definitely hit me up on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Do you know a Shawnee? A Shawnee wants to join.
A Sean name?
Shawnee?
Oh yeah, Sean. Yes, I do.
Okay, okay, okay. So let them in. Okay, yes. So if you could say again, what are the services that you provide, and what services, can you offer specifically
Mhm.
for women or men who have experienced this? Like, what are some things that you can do to assist them?
Right. So what I could definitely do, I'm a sacred woman practitioner, studied on the Queen of Fours. So what I can do is definitely assist you with how you're feeling, and basically I use food as medicine, food and emotional support. So I will help you with creating a food plan for you. First, I want to listen to your story and hear where you're coming from. And then I will allow, the spirit to move. I usually will go into self care because I think that's the first thing that happens. So I'll teach you or show you how to heal yourself from sexual assault, or begin the road to heal. Um, and so I'll meet with you. We can talk. We can have a session where I could do reflexology. I do crystal readings, and I do energy readings as well. Um, Venus put me on the spot. She's like, "Girl, tell them what you do."
Oh,
I'm like,
that's right.
"I don't wanna."
And where are you located? Where are you located?
I'm
Where?
located in the Bronx, the Boogie Down. Yes, but I would definitely come to you. So I definitely do sessions. I am actually I use a lot of crystal work and healing work. That's what God gives me. I'm a grounded person, so I love the herb. I will hug a tree. So most of the stuff that I will work with a person is just basically getting grounded and getting back to your spiritual self. Um, I don't necessarily deal with religion because I feel like people with religion can divide us, but I really want the person to be spiritually whole. And whatever that means to you, I can help you kind of navigate that. And just basically going back to self-care, we can come up with, rituals that you can be comfortable, not necessarily rituals, that's not the right word. A routine would be a better word, where you can follow, and something that can be easy for you, even like giving you a set of affirmations, customized affirmations, checking in with you. I'm just here to basically support any way that I can. Like I said, I do reflexology and crystal readings, and I'm also do some kind of like health food and food coach and stuff like that. So
And it's also great that you're here for session 155, which is also the beginning of what I call Renewal November.
mhm,
Like I always like
right.
to have a new theme for the month, and yeah, I might be in touch with you myself just for the benefits of what
No,
you're
definitely.
offering.
No, definitely. And
And
also I'm an ear. So I mean, I've had people come up to me, like one woman told me she wanted to confront her mother, to tell her mother what happened to her. She's a grown woman. You'd be surprised. So I really just helped her with that. Like, okay, what's your mother temperament? How does she act? And when you usually tell her certain news, um, why is this so important to you? And I think personally, the why is the purpose, right? So then I can help her build her why she wants to tell, because she's tired of the shame. She wants to move on to have a better relationship with her mom. And so pretty much, I went with her, not with her to I offered to go with her. But sometimes, when you're not family, it's not your place. And when you have difficult conversation, it's usually better to have them um without outsiders. Like sometimes people do interventions and you see them, it will go really wrong because the person that needs the intervention, it feels like they're being bombarded, and they can't trust the person. So what I pretty much do is just what I helped her come up with like a script and just made her feel confident, prayed with her, and explained to her, you have kids. This is why you're doing this. You're trying to break a cycle. A lot of times we just need to be affirmed. There are times when we know what is the right thing to do, but sometimes we just need that little push and that little support.
And can you share about your book, which I didn't even know about until you messaged me?
Yeah,
So,
so I have a compilation book. I don't even have it out here right now, but it's called Break the Silence. I did that in 2018. My aunt actually self-published. She got a group of women who experienced sexual assault, and we just wrote about our experience. The name of my story is called Brad T. Smith. It's a play on words. It's called, well, it's more about breaking the silence. And so Brad, he comes and visits me when I'm changing my son, and then it goes into that whole trauma thing. But I am working on different projects because I really feel like my story can really help other people, and I've seen it has, but so I really want to dive into more of that.
okay. Okay. Well, this has been wonderful, and I'm so, so, so very ungrateful that you were here. Like you finally got a date,
Yes,
you know.
yes. It's been so crazy. And I want to tell people, please take a bath, journal. This was a heavy session. And
Mhm.
so it might be triggering. So please take care of yourself. After this, take a glass of wine. I don't know, but can we say that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
sure, 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 sure. Mhm.
but yeah, just take care of yourself, and love on yourself. Please love on yourself because no one else is gonna love you like you love you.
So what kind of bath should they take?
So tonight I would say take a love bath. So you take a bath with Epsom salt. If you have high blood pressure, use apple cider vinegar. Um, if you have some lavender, put some lavender drops or some peppermint drops or any type of oil that you have. If you have ginger, ginger oil is really good because it helps stimulate. And if you have a crystal um, pink quartz, put that in the tub as it run. As it is running, put your hand in the water and pray over it. Pray for healing, pray for peace. Whatever God placed on your heart to pray for, whatever you feel that you need, um, put your hand in the water and pray over your water. Water is programmable. So whatever you tell water, it will do. So whenever I get in a bath, I always, for the most part, I always remember to pray. But when I forget, I could tell when I got in the water, I'm like, oh, I didn't pray over my water. So pray over your water, even your drinking water, pray over your drinking water to heal your organs and stuff like that. Um, just be more intentional. I would say when you're doing self-care, be more intentional with putting love towards yourself. So don't take nothing for granted. Whatever you put in your body, you pray over that. Or you recognize the benefits of it that is going to do to help your body.
Okay, and that kind of reminded me. You said you talked about dairy, and
Dairy.
I kind of remember that when I did volunteer with her back in the day about dairy
Oh, that
and
dairy is the devil. That dairy. Oh yes. Dairy. If so when my mother died, I went through a whole phase of dairy, cheese, different monster cheese, sharp cheese. I don't even eat ice cream. I was eating ice cream, butter, making sure everything was on butter, everything. When we tend to go to dairy, this means that we are looking to be mothered or we're missing our mother. There's something with our where we need to be nurtured. Also, I'll give you this crunchy foods. I love crunchy foods, but after studying under Queen of Fours, no shocked. Crunchy foods, people that have anxiety or PTSD or panic attacks, they like crunchy food. Crunchy food is a stimulant for like the crunch.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a calming mechanism for people. So like for me, I'm not a sweet tooth person. I'm a chip person, savory popcorn, stuff like that. The crunchier, the better. Those are indicators. The food that you gravitate towards that are unhealthy, they can be an indicator to your life of what's going on and the things that you need to address. Um,
So the dairy is you're seeking mothering, and the
yes.
crunchy is what?
So the crunchy is like anxiety, PTSD. You're trying to calm down. So like chewing gum, the crunching is soothing to you.
And what about sweets and starches?
The starches, it's funny. Come on, Vina.
I'm taking
So
advantage
starches,
that you're here.
technically, you should only have 30% of starches. It's funny because I just said that today. Like, I'm gonna cut all starches. Starches could be the same thing because a lot of time we mix starches with cheese, right? Or we're trying to like white rice. My son, he loves white rice. Um, People who have like my son is a very picky eater, and people with food allergies are very picky eaters too. And so they usually go hand in hand together. And food allergies, picky eaters, ADHD, that's along the line too. So when you have young people, I know with my son, I try to be careful with him. He hates vegetables. I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but he has a texture thing. So he likes a lot of crunch. He doesn't like soggy food. He doesn't like wet bread. He eats sandwiches weird. So those things, like I try to pay attention to with him and just make sure that it's hard out here for a pimp, but make sure he's eating healthy. So I'm giving him liquid chlorophyll, like, here, take that. That's something that you could take if you don't eat enough vegetables. Liquid chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is what's found in plants. So you definitely could take that. That's also a body deodorizer. So if you have issues with smelly breath or internal smells, it will clear you right up. If you are doing a detox, that's really good to use chlorophyll because a lot of times when we do detox, um, our breath stinks sometimes because if you're doing a vegetable detox, your body is trying to release all the toxins, right? So as it's releasing the toxins stink. And so drinking chlorophyll while you detox can definitely help with odors, with your breath, your feet, stuff like that. It's a really good I don't want to say herb, but it's a really good alternative to have, especially if you don't get enough vegetables.
You just got a vegetable fast?
Yeah, like so a vegetable fast, um, it will definitely heal your body. So if you did a vegetable fast with just vegetables, probably 30% carbs, no meat, your food will become your medicine. So the thing with that is that for me personally, I always tell people to ease in because if you're eating meat and stuff like that and you stop abruptly with the just eating vegetables, your body's going to go through withdrawals. So usually when I do detoxes, vegetable detoxes or certain type of detoxes, I have to ease into it. So the first day I will make a home, like a hearty soup with just vegetables, put zucchini and stuff like that. Play with it a little bit with the textures, having mushrooms, because remember, I'm eliminating the meat. So everything that I put in, I'm putting in garlic, cilantro, celery. Celery is really good. And I had to learn this too, for positive thinking. So if you're struggling with PTSD, if you're struggling with harmful thoughts, celery juice. It is really, really good. It boosts your metabolism. Also, too, if you're having negative thoughts and calm, the drink calm that they sell at Costco's is magnesium. Sometimes we lack vitamin D and magnesium as Black people. And so what happens is that we become depressed because the body is now looking for iron and magnesium, and it doesn't have it. So it's pulling from either your bones or your organs and stuff. So that is not healthy. So getting calm, you can use that with kids. I used to use that for my son too, is magnesium. Magnesium calms you down. So like it calms your thoughts, it makes you relax. It's like a natural relaxer. So that's something that you definitely could get calm. And I think it's like $20. It's not really expensive. You take 1 tablespoon. Sometimes people use that and substitute a coffee. So you can use it in the morning. Um, for me, green juices do that for me. Green juices relax me, bring me down to a natural state. So that's something that I try to incorporate. Green juices.
So the green juices have the magnesium.
No, they do. Yes, they do. But it's a drink called Calm,
Mhm.
CALM, Calm, and it's pure magnesium, and it relaxes you. You can take it before you go to sleep. You can take it when you wake up. It's basically magnesium, and it relaxes you. So it relaxes your nerves, your body, and stuff like that. So if you're uptight, and have panic attacks, I used to get them a lot. Oh my God. And so that would help me, that and drinking water. So, anybody who has experienced any type of trauma, I would recommend that they really have not a strict diet, but have boundaries around their diet, because you have to make sure you watch what you put in, because of the experiences that we experience is sometimes it can chemically, throw us off. And so those vegetables, the drinking the water, the baths, the massaging of yourselves, the affirmations, um, those are all things that you can do to help heal. And it's funny because me and my friend, we always say, we gangbang healing, because when you heal, it's not just one thing. You gotta drink your water, take your vitamins, take a walk, and do a yoga pose, right? Or do your crystals, do some journal, or laugh, because laughter is medicine. It's always it's not one, oh, I'm just gonna get up at 5 in the morning and just gonna meditate. Even if you got up at 5 in the morning and meditate, and you did hydrotherapy and took a bath, and that is self-care. You soaking in water, soaking your problems, letting them go down the drain, that is a form of self-care. So usually when you're healing, most times you're doing like multiple things in one day. If we really took the time to do self-care how we supposed to do, we wouldn't have jobs. We wouldn't have to work. Because if we took care of how we were supposed to, we wouldn't have time to go to work. Because we'll be doing our hair, or we'll be doing massages, or we'll be drinking herbs that's gonna help us. We'll be meditating. We'll be, doing some gardening, stuff like that. Self-care.
Okay. I love that. Gang,
Gang bang healing. You gotta
gang.
do gang bang healing. So you gotta get up at 5 in the morning. You gotta say your prayers, and then you gotta drink your green juice. And then at 12, you might have to eat your salad, and then you might have to pray again. Then you might have to get your crystals in your Palo Santo, because you gotta clear the air off. Because somebody just threw you off. There's always things that when I detox, I really go hard. I really go hard. My family, and I think that's when I'm at my optimum. My family moves like a unit, because it's like, oh, mom got the green juice. Oh no, better not ask her for that. Oh no, she's doing this. Okay, no, she about to take her bath. Let me leave her the hell alone. It's certain things, it's certain things that I operate better because my mind is clear. I don't have all that mind chatter. I'm not eating processed foods. So I don't have those negative thoughts. My knees not hurting because I'm not eating dairy with the wine, stuff like that,
Mm, mm,
or
mhm.
prices not kicking in. So when you at your optimum health, that's when you can see things clearer. And I think that's what really helped me to heal. So I encourage everybody to, take care of themselves any way they can.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, when you get your program, and let me know. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think I'm ready for that. 5 o'clock in the morning, but I think
I know.
I wanna try
Queen of
that.
Four. Used to make us get up at 4. Lord have mercy. Queen of Food was no joke. We used to get up at 4 in the morning. And we would have the groups, and I'll be like, Lord have mercy. That first week, I was like, Lord have mercy, I gotta do that. But once I got to like the 3rd week, I appreciated it. I looked for it because it was a sisterhood. So it was other women on there praying, and it was things. But that 4 in the morning ain't no joke. But that, if you can get your downloads at 4 in the morning, you will be so productive. That's why
Mm,
Tina Ford wrote all her books, 4 in the morning.
mm. Wow. 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 Wow.
That's the
Wow.
productive hour.
That's the what?
The productive hour. That's when
The,
everything downloads. Like if you unclear about something, definitely get up at 4 in the morning and pray.
okay. Yeah, that has been happening when I'm waking up. It happens to be quite often. And I turn around like, it's 4 a.m. Why am I up? It's 4. Why am I up? And it's like, on simple level, I know why I'm up. I'm like, no, I need to go to sleep. I'm sorry.
I get it. I
It's
understand.
like I know, but like not tonight. Maybe
That's it.
not tomorrow either.
No, that's it.
But okay, okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
very much. This was awesome, and I think this has really been so helpful for the people who are watching or will be watching the replay. So I just really appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Joyce and Miss Sissy and Shawnee and Samsung. Thank you for being here and for offering your support. This has just been wonderful.
Yes.
So for everyone watching, this is Transformation Thursday, week 155, and our topic this evening is healing from sexual trauma with our speaker, Mrs. Venus, who's a Bronx resident, a visionary foot reflexologist, and holistic practitioner. And did I say that she's from the Bronx? So please follow her on Facebook, and you can follow her on Instagram. Do you have a website too?
No, I don't. Not there yet. But
Okay.
one day. One day.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So I really appreciate you sharing your story for sharing yourself.
Yes.
Because yeah, you never know what people have experienced and how they've gotten to the mountaintop. So thank you for sharing your mountaintop experience with us.
Thank you for having me. Andre,
Yes.
should I say so?
Yes. I wanted to, this is one of my favorite nieces. I have a number of them. And I didn't want to put in the comment, this is Aunt Joyce, because I just wanted to say what I wanted to say. And basically I said that I have never had a sexual abuse, but there are abuses that you can go through. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, my niece, you were fantastic. You know how Aunt Joyce writes, I took many, many notes. And I said, this can help me in my walk of life. If someone should approach me or say something, you would be the person I would direct it to. And I want to say, so can you pronounce your first name? Abina?
Abena,
Okay,
Abena.
Abina.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Sister girl gave me that breakdown with the body thing. Girl, it worked. She took me off so many things, right? I would go, but Venus, today I cannot do. No, Aunt Joyce, you got to go back to. But and then I'm a walker. So if she works with you with that, it's fantastic. And I know your grandmother's doing the hallelujah anyhow. I know your mother's saying, look at her, mom, look at her, look at her, look at her. Because to God be the glory for where he has brought you from.
Yes.
All he has brought you through. And Lord have mercy to where you going. But I'm hanging on to your coattail because I'm riding that ride, girl. I'm very, very proud of you. Your uncle's in the background, Lila. Yes, Lord. He came in on the tail end. But thank you for having her. And I will definitely tune in on Transformation Thursdays again. I live in Harlem, but
That's fine.
I lived in the Bronx for a while in my life, but thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You guys
Oh.
be blessed and be safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Joy.
Okay, and the replay will be available and it's live on Instagram. And I'll send you the recording when Zoom finished processing it. So thank you so much. You're like, oh, I can talk for 45 minutes. Yeah, people always say that. So thank you. Thank you. And for everyone watching, I always like to close by saying if no one has told you this, remember that you are a spark of the divine. Okay.
Mm. Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
Yes, that's empowering. Thank
I'm
you so
glad.
much. All
Okay.
right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you
great
so
evening.
much.
Night.
Bye. Good
Good
night.
night. Okay.